So you can see I have already installed this extension. So if I click on this, this is what I have. It's called the blockchain coder. So currently I'm testing the model which we have designed for this particular wallet. So one can send the money straight away directly to their any wallet address. So for example, if I want to check the balance of my wallet, so what I will do, first I have to get the address of my wallet. So I will come back here in the MetaMask and I have to get the address, and that's so sometime happen. So you can see this is the MetaMask, and I can simply copy the address, come back to the extension we have built, and if I paste here the address, it will give me the balance, because currently we are dealing with the Polygon test network, the Mumbai test network, and here you can see that this much Medicoin I have in my wallet. And if you come back to the MetaMask, you will find that this is the exact wallet balance displaying here, 1.5768, and that's the same amount I have here in my wallet. So it's gone. So I have to make one more request. You can easily able to build a lot of feature into this extension. So you can see we can easily able to transfer we can easily able to fetch it, take the private key here, come back here, let me grab the address where I want to transfer the fund, and from here I can select the amount. So right now I have close to 1.5 Medicoin. So what I will do, I'll simply make I want to transfer something very less. So I'll say 0012. Okay, this much amount I want to transfer to this account number 2. If I click on this transfer, it's going to make a transaction. So just wait. Right now you can see the transaction is happening, and it will give us the transaction hash which we can confirm easily on the Polygon scan. So you can see you can click here and you can confirm your transaction. So once you click on that, it will take you to the Poly scan, and here you will find the transaction you have done. And all of you, hope you guys are great. So here you can see that I have opened the project in my VS Code. You can pick any code editor as per your choice, as per your comfortability. So what I have done so far, I have created a folder by the name extension, and in that I have created all of these files, and we have nothing in this file. So you can see this is the first file. We have ethers.js. In that we're going to keep the library, ether library, which will allow us to interact with the blockchain. Then we have this image. You can take any image, but make sure to keep it in 1500 to 1500, means 1:1 Instagram post like dimension you have to keep. That's the image, and this is the close this one, and this is the manifest file we have. In that we have to provide all the important information, because when you will deploy this particular extension to the Chrome, there you have to define that what is the version, what is the name, what is the images, what is the file you want to trigger, what is the background script we want to run. So all of the things you have to define into this. We're going to define it together. Then we have this pop-up HTML, and that we're going to write the entire UI part. Then we have the pop-up JavaScript, and that we're going to write the simple all the logic. Then we have the CSS file for the styling. So it looks pretty fine to me. Make sure to create all of these files, and we're going to write it together. Don't need to worry about it. And again, the final code is already provided to you on the blockchain coder, and I will provide you the link in the description, so you guys can simply click and you can get that. Back here and open your browser, and first thing we have to get the entire library in our project. So let's come here. We have to type ethers.js and hit enter, and this is the very first link on which you have to click. And here you will come to the official website of ethers.js, and here you will find all the information about this particular package. Okay, so what you have to do is come here, and here you have to click on this get started, and you have multiple way to use this library in your project. You can use it through npm, or you can use through node.js, or you can simply use the CDN. So everything they have explained extensively here, but we're going to follow different approach this time. We're not going to use node, we're not going to use CDN. You can see we have this script. So if you want to use as a node modules, you can do that in your HTML. That's the one way, and we have another way using this as a CDN. But we have an issue with the CDN, because when you will deploy this extension in Chrome, at that time the external libraries which you are using in terms of CDN, it will not work. So it will throw you an error, and sometime Chrome extension don't allow you to add any external libraries. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to download the entire library, and we're going to use it internally. So you can see right now everything is looking absolutely fine. This is the script for the HTML, but we're not going to use this script. You can use it for testing locally, but when you will deploy, it will throw an error. So make sure to click on this ethers library. If you click on that, it will open the entire library, entire code, and we need this entire code. That's a huge code. That all code we're going to take it in our project and we're going to use it internally. So just follow along with me. You can see there is bunch of methods, bunch of programs, bunch of function is written already here. We have to do a little bit changes. Simply copy that one, come back to your project, and we have to click on this ethers and paste here. Simply you can see we have a huge code. Let me save it, and here it will format because I'm using ESLint in my VS Code. That's why the moment I save, it will format the document. That's a huge line of code, close to 30,000 lines of code they have written in this particular library. So we're going to use this entire library. We have all of this function. You can do the modification. If you want to make your library with little light and you want to use it only those function you want, then you can do the modification very easily. You can see these are the function we are exporting from this entire library. So what I will do is, we have this base contract, big number, contract factory, big number, signature, void signature, then we have the wallet, word list. We have all of this. I hope you guys are familiar with this. If you want to get a default provider, you can easily able to get that. All you have to do is to call this method, and that's what we do when we use as a npm library. But here what I'm going to do is I'm going to delete this one, because sometime this module and export module doesn't work in the library. It will throw you an error. So it's better to remove this one, and we'll use it as a plain JavaScript. So that looks pretty fine. So that's the entire library, and that's the only thing you have to do in the ether package. That's the only thing. Make sure to download the ether library, remove the export, and that's ready. Here we have this fave icon. See, this is the entire one, and this is the manifest. Now let's start writing the code in the manifest and set the rules and provide the information so our Chrome browser can identify our extension, the versions, and the images and all. So click on that. Come here, let's define that. So first thing, we have to define the name of our wallet. So we'll say crypto wallet. You can call it anything you want. This name is going to be your extension name. Then we have to give the description to our wallet, transfer fund to any wallet. Then we have to give the version. So make sure to pick any version you want, but when you build any particular application for the very first time, this is the version you have to assign: 1, 2, 3, 4, and that goes on and on. Version. Now we have to give the manifest version. So generally we have two type of version 2 and version 3. So version 3 is the latest one, and that's what is recommended in the Chrome documentation. So that's what we are following here. So we'll take the version 3. Then we have to take the action. So what are the action we have to provide? So here we have to mention the files which we want to trigger. So what we'll say default pop-up, and this is the HTML file we want to trigger, and we want to set our icon. So this is the icon file I have, the image I have in form of PNG. So that's what I'm going to add it. Then close this one. Now we have to take the icon. So here you can define the default icon behavior. So there is a multiple icon size which Chrome extension wants you to provide. So like the sizes are 16. In all the sizes I'm going to provide this particular image, but as per the sizes you have to crop the images, and you have to assign the images size in exactly the same way. Otherwise the images will not display in the Chrome browser. And the reason why they ask you to provide multiple size of images, because they're going to display based on the different screen sizes. Okay, so we have the 16, then we have the 32. On the same, I'm going to provide this one. Then we have the 48, and the last one is 128. So we have all the different size of icons. Now come here we have to define the permission. So what are the permission we want to provide? So here there is a huge list of permission, but I'm going to follow 3 permission types. So we want them to allow in new tabs, we want them to bookmark, and we want to allow them to unlimited storage and native messaging. So these are the permission we have to provide in the extension, and this one is the most common use when you build the extension one. Okay, so that's the entire manifest JSON file we have for our extension. Hope this entire thing makes sense. So these are the information is very important, and that's what you have to provide. So we have the name, description, version, manifest version, actions, and then the icons and the permissions. Looks pretty far so good. Close this one. Here we can click on this. So before we start working on the HTML, let's start working on the functionality. So we'll start working on the JSON, then we'll move to the HTML, and all we have to do is to simply plug the functionality into our HTML file, and everything would be ready. We are in the popup.js file, and here we have to build all the logic for our extensions. Like we have to open the pop-up, fetching the balance, transfer the funds, all of the things we're going to do right up here. So first thing we have to do is we have to listen to our DOM. So we'll say document dot add event listener, and we'll say DOM content load. So we have to wait till the content is load, and then we have to simply call the function. So the very first thing we have to do is to target the element on which we want to trigger the event. So we'll say document dot get element by id. So this is the id we're going to provide to form, and on that we have to add this particular add event listener. And what we are listening for, we are listening for click, and on that we're going to call this handle function. So we're going to write each one of these function. Right now we are just taking the entire events. So this is the first one. We'll come down and we'll create the function called handler. So function handler, in that first we have to get the element. So we'll say get element by id, and we want to get the center, and the center is going to be our loader. So we'll say set style display flex, because by default it will be none. So we have to display our loader. Then we have to take this private key, because we need the private key to make the transaction, and that's what we have seen in the demo one. So if they want to transfer the fund, they have to provide the private key. So we'll get that by document get element by id, and we'll get by this private key. Value, we have the private key. Then we have to get the amount, get element by id amount value. Once we have that one, now we have to get the address of the user where we want to transfer the fund. So we have the private key, we have the amount, we have the address. This is my private key and the test account where I want to transfer the fund. Okay, so I have taken here for an example, so I can simply copy and make a call. So make sure to get your own private key and your own test key. Now come down. Now we have to build our provider so we can interact with the blockchain and transfer the fund. So we'll come here, we'll take this const provider, and we'll call this new ether provider. So this is the library we have in our package, and that library we're going to attach in our HTML document. So once we attach, we have the entire object of ethers, and that's what we're going to call it. So we'll say ether.provider.json RPC provider, and in that we have to pass the entire string. Got from the Acme. I have covered that tons of time in my previous project like NFT marketplace, Uniswap clone, and all the project we have built. So it's very easy. Make sure to watch one of that, and that I've explained that how you can get this entire string. And again, the final code is given down in the description, so you can simply download it and you can get it from there as well. Have the provider. Now let's come down. We have to get the wallet, and we have the wallet instant in the ether package. In that we have to pass the private key and the provider, so we can easily able to tell the ether package that we want to interact with the blockchain with this particular account. So we have the wallet. Now we can come down, we can take a variable called transaction, and here we have to pass all the data in our transaction field, and the data will going to be carry on when the user will make the transaction for transferring the fund. So we have to define a couple of variables. First, we have to define the address where we want to transfer the fund, the address. Then we have to define the value, the amount, and we have to convert this price into ether. So we have that one. Now the two data we have in the transaction field. Come down, and we have to take a variable call, and we have to get the link. So what we'll do is, after successful transaction, we have to allow the user to verify the transaction, so they can easily able to go to the Polygon scan, and they can easily able to verify the transaction. So that's the link we are building up here. So we'll take this one and we'll target the href. We'll say by default we'll assign that one. Then we can take this wallet and we'll say send transaction. In that we have to simply pass the transaction object, and we'll call this then, because it will make a promise and we have to resolve the promise. So in that we have the entire data of the particular transaction we have done, transaction object. So in that we have to get this transaction hash, because that particular hash is the unique identification identifier for the transaction we have done just now. So we're going to take that hash and we have to simply assign. So we have to simply hide the loader. We'll say none. After that we'll take a variable called this, and we have to simply take the link, and we have to display our icon, and here we have to display our transaction hash. So this is how we can construct the URL for the poly scan for a single transaction. So we have that. Now we'll simply get the element, and we have to display the link where the user can click and they can verify. Looks fine, and we have to close this one. So this is the entire wallet transaction, all the data we are taking, assigning, and that looks pretty fine to me. Now we can come down, we have to get the document, so we'll say document add event listener, and we have to get the DOM content load, and in that we have to build another function. So we'll say document, we'll call this get element by id check balance. So this function will allow user to check balance. So first thing we have to do is we have to get the add event listener, so we have to add a click event, and we have to call this function get check balance. So this is the function we have to build. Now come here, we'll say function check balance, we'll say document dot get element by id. So first we have to display our loader, so we'll display that center, we'll say display flex. Then we can simply come down here, we have to get the provider, so let me get it very quickly. Once we have the provider, we can come down and we're going to simply take the signer, so we'll say signer provider dot get signer. So this will give the signer, and we'll say console logout dot signer. You can simply check the entire object of the signer. Now we'll take a variable called address, and this address, because we need the address to check the balance of the account, so this address will come from the user input. So let me get that id by address, so this is the one, and we have to take this value. So we have the address. Now we'll take the provider and we'll call this get balance. In that we have to pass the address, and we have to simply resolve the promise. So we'll say convert currency until from wait to ether. Okay, now we'll take a variable balance eth, then we have to simply call our ether package and pass the balance amount. So this will convert the balance in the readable format in terms of readable format. We'll take the document element, and we have to get the check balance, and there we have to display the balance. So we have to simply change the text, so we'll call it your balance and the balance actual balance. Looks fine. Then we have to simply console log out the balance, you can do that, and then we have to simply hide the loader. So that's the entire function for checking balance. Looks pretty fine to me. Hope the entire logic is pretty clear to all of you guys, and everything is explained beautifully. We have built a simple logic for sending the funds and checking the balance. Very soon we're going to build full-fledged MetaMask clone, and that we're going to include all the functionality which you find in MetaMask, including login, logout, account creations, checking balance, transfer funds, add account changing. All of things we're going to cover extensively in this project. I have already made a video in that I have explained that what are the features we have built, so you can watch this particular video to have a better understanding that what you're going to build in this particular project. That will come very soon on the channel, but in this video just focus on this particular project, and that will give you a better idea. So we have done with this entire function. Let me close this one. This is the handle function. We have all the data we are getting. This is the demo provider, then we have the wallet, the transaction, then here we are building the link, and that's the first one. We are changing the hash, then we are displaying, and here we are targeting the second event. This is the check balance, and this is the entire function for checking the balance. We are taking the provider, then we are getting the signer, and then we are checking the funds and displaying in the front end UI. Looks pretty good. Hope this entire thing makes sense to all of you guys, and no issues so far with your end. Let me come here, close this one, and let's close this function as well. So that's all we have written. Very simple, but very soon a full-fledged MetaMask clone will come. The project is already ready, and I have already made a demo video. You can check that, but for the time being just focus on this. So we are done with this. Now come here, we can start working on the HTML, and in the HTML I'm going to write little faster because that's a simple HTML. We don't need to build any logic in that. So let's start working on it. First we have to get the document type HTML, then we have to get the language, and then we have to take the head. Here we have to set all the metadata. So we'll say this, then we have to second the viewport, content wide device, then we have to set the title. We'll say crypto wallet. We'll take the link, and here we have to attach our CSS file. So this is the CSS file we have created, and that's what we are attaching here. Then we have to close our head tag, and then we have to initialize our body tag. We'll take a body tag, and in that we have to write the entire code of our project. So let's take a div. It will have a class called card. We'll take another div. It will have a class called card2. Inside that we'll take a div. It will have a class called form, and in that we'll take a b tag, and we'll have an id called heading, and we'll display this particular text. Then we can take a div type. It will have a class called field, and here we have to display the input field. So we'll take an input, and it will have a type number. It will have the class input field. It will have a placeholder amount. It will have the ID amount, because this ID we are targeting in our JavaScript file for getting the balance of this input field. Then we'll close that one, and here we have close this one, and now we'll take another one. So let's do the same thing very quickly. Here we're going to text area. We have to assign the type is going to be a text. Let's assign the class. So we'll say input field. We have to assign the placeholder. So here we want to take the private key, and it will have the ID because we have to target this one. So we'll say autocomplete to off, and we'll take a ID, and this will say private key, and that's what we have taken in our JavaScript file. Now simply provide this name. We have to assign this ID. Look, close this one. Then we have to provide this column 10, and then we have to provide the rows because we want to have a little bigger box 5. Then we can simply close that one. So that's the second field we have. Now we have to take one more field for the transfer, the address. So we'll say field. Let me take it very quickly. And finally, we have all the 3 fields for taking the data from the user. So it looks pretty fine to me. Now what we can do, come here, we'll take a p tag. Here we're going to display the span. Ultimately, we want to provide some space from the input field and between the buttons. Here we can come here. Here we're going to display our loader. So we're going to take a div. It will have a ID called center, and we'll take a class called center, and we're going to take this div. So it will have a loader, and inside that we'll have this class. So we'll say bar1, and we have to take couple of. So let me take it very quickly. So this one is the 2 all together. Close this one and close this one. So this is the entire our loader component. What we are doing, we are taking the devs and we're going to create our loader with the help of CSS. You can take an image or you can take it any pre-built component for displaying as a loader. So make sure to take this 1 to 12 bars inside the loader component. So we are done with this loader. Now we can come here. We can take a small tag, and here we have to display our link. So we'll target this in a new tab. We'll assign a link ID, and we have to give this extra blank because we're going to add with the help of JavaScript after the successful transaction. Now we have to simply call this check your transaction, and we'll close this anchor tag, and we'll close that one as well. Now we can come here. Now we can close our loader. So it's closed. Now we can come down, and here we have to start taking the button. So we'll take a div. It will have a class called button, and now we have to take this button. It will have a ID form, and it will call class button1 because we have 2 buttons. So let's take this space, and we'll say transfer. Take this space, and we can close the button. So this is the first button we have. Now we can close the div, and now we're going to take one more button. So we'll say this button ID is going to be check balance. It will have a class called button3, and we'll say check balance, and close that one, and close this div. Close the div, close the div, and we have to install our script so we can interact with our JavaScript. So what we have to do is, first we have to get our ether package, and make sure the order is very important. So first you have to import your library, then you have to import your other script. If you not import your library first, you will have no object of ether package, and that will throw you an error. So first you have to import the ether package, then you have to import the pop-up JS, then close the body, close the HTML, and that's the entire HTML we have written for our project. Okay, hope this entire thing makes sense to all of you guys, that what we have done. So we have taken this header, we have this header, and this is the entire body we have. This is the entire card. This is the first field for the amount. This is for the text, the private key, and this one is for the address. Then we have this space, then we have the loader. This is the entire loader we have. Then we have this small, and this is the button component we have. Okay, if you have encountered any error, make sure to pause the video and try to rewatch. That will fix your issue. That's a very simple code we have written. Come here. Now we have to start working on the CSS file. So come back in the ethers.js, and you can see we have all of this function right up here. Looks pretty good to me. We are done with the ether package, we are done with the JavaScript, and now we can start working on the CSS. So here we have the HTML, looks pretty good, no issues. We have all of the files are done. Okay, so let me have a look one more time. No issues, so far so good. Now this is the HTML. Okay, and that's how it looks on the browser. You can see we have all of this skeletons are ready, but we have to little bit style it up, and that's what we're going to do with the help of CSS. So what we can do, come back the code, and now we can start working on the CSS. So first we're going to target the form, and we'll say display flex direction column, gap 10 pixels, padding left 2 em, padding right 2 em, padding bottom 0.4 em, background color, it will have our second primary. Then the border is going to be radius. It's totally up to you. If you want to assign a border radius, you can do that, but I'm going to comment this for time being. Then we're going to target the heading, and we have to text align center, margin 2 rem, color, we'll have this RGB color, and we'll have a font size to 1.2 em. Come down, we'll take the field, display flex, align item center, justify content center, gap 0.5 em, border radius 25 pixels, padding 0.6 em, border none, outline none, color white, background color. Then we'll have the box shadow, inset 2 pixels, 5 pixels, 10 pixels, and RGB color. Come down, we have to take this input icon, height 1.3 em, width is going to be 1.3 em, fill, we'll have this RGB color, the green. Then we'll take this input field, we'll take the background none, border none, outline none, width 100 pixels, 100%, and we'll have the RGB color, which is the green one. We can come down, we'll take the form button, display flex, justify content center, flex direction row, margin top 2.5 em, button padding 0.5 em, padding left 1.1 em, padding right 1.1 em, border radius 5 pixels, margin right 0.5 em, border none, outline none, transition 0.4 second, easy in out, background image linear gradient, and we're going to have this particular grading color. We'll have the color is going to be a black. Then we'll have the first button over effect, and we have to take this linear grading color, the one we have taken above, paste here. Then we'll assign the color, will be an RGB color, green. We'll take the button 2, padding this, padding left, padding right, border radius 5 pixels, border none, outline none. We'll have the transition for easy in out, background image linear gradient. We'll take the color RGB. We can take the over effect. We'll take the background image linear gradient. It will have the same color. but the primary color will first. Then we'll take the RGB color, the green one. Then we can target the third button, margin bottom 3. Then we have the padding, border radius 5 pixels, border none, outline none. We'll have the transition 4-second easy in out, background image will have the linear gradient color. We'll have the RGB color. Then we'll assign the over effect on the button. So that's going to be the same one, a little dark one. So we'll have the reddish and reddish lightest. Then we'll have the color and close this one. Let's target the card. We'll say background image, it will have a linear gradient color, the primary gradient color we have. Then we'll assign the border. Let's comment out for a time being. Well, with this transaction all 0.3 second, we have to target the card to border radius 0, transition all 0.32 second. We'll take the card over effect. We'll say transform scale 0.98, border radius 20 pixels. We'll take the card over effect, box shadow 0 pixels, 0 pixels, 30 pixels, 1 pixels, and we'll have the RGB color. And here we're going to take the notification. So we'll say small p, and we'll say color is going to be our white and text align center. And we'll target the anchor. We'll say display text direction none, color RGB. Then we'll have the display none by default. We'll target the text area, resize none. Then we'll have to take the space, and we have to provide space from the top, so 0.3 em. Now we have to work on the loader. So this one is pretty huge. We'll target the center, display none by default, justify content center, align item center. Then we'll take the loader, position relative, width 50 pixels, 40 height, border radius 10 pixels, loader div, width is going to be 8%, height 24%, background we'll have the RGB color. We'll take the position is going to be absolute, left 50 pixels percent, top 30%, opacity 0, border radius 5 pixels, border shadow 003 pixels, and we'll have the RGB color. Then we'll take this animate linear infinity. We'll come down, we'll take the creep frame. Light will start from opacity 1. Then we'll take this 2, and we'll say opacity 0.25. Then we'll come down, we'll take the loader bar 1, and we have to target each one by one. So we'll take this rotate value, and we'll take the animation delay 0. Come down, we have to target the bar 2. On the same value we have to provide, but we have to change the directions and the rotation, okay, and the timing. So let's do it. Let's target the bar 3. So let me write it quickly one by one. Now we're going to target the last bar, transform rotate 330 degree, translate, then we have to give the animation delay, and that's pretty much. So this is the entire CSS we have written for our extensions. Hope this entire thing makes sense to all of you guys. So this is the form we have, close this one, heading, field, input icon, input button, we have button 1, this is the over effect, button 2, close this one, button 3, close this one, and this is the card, and this is the card 2, over effect on both the cards. So let's close this one, anchor, text and space, and this is the entire animation for the loader. Close all of this. So these are the loaders we have. Let me close it one by one. 5, 6, 7. Now we have 8, 9, 10, 11 and 12. And if you have stuck, if you have encountered any error, make sure to rewatch. That will fix your issue. So it looks pretty fine. So we are done with this entire folder and file structure. So we have written all the code which we need to write for this extension. Let me check one more time. So this is the JavaScript, this is the HTML, and this is the entire CSS. Okay, and this is the manifest file. So make sure to provide all of this data which we have given in our manifest JSON file, because now we're going to simply upload our extension to the Chrome. So what I will do, I'll simply come here, save it, come back here. You can see this is how our application, our extension is looking in our browser. And now this is what we're going to simply deploy in the extension. So all of things are looking fine and looks pretty good to me. Now come here, click on this 3 dot, click on this extensions, and click on this manage extension. Here you will have couple of options. So right now you can see that I'm in the developer mode. So by default you will not have this developer mode on. So make sure to click on this. It will open the developer mode, and now you will have these 3 options. And this is the extension we have built. In this we have all the feature and functionality for MetaMask, which I show you in the very beginning, which I have already deployed in the Chrome and I'm using in my browser. And very soon a video will come on this project. So it looks pretty fine. You can see this is the extension we have built. It has all the feature. It will fetch the balance, transfer the funds, account, login, log out, user authentication, account creation. Everything is we have done extensively in that. You can simply log out and you can log in, create your accounts. So things are looking pretty good. So come here, click on this load unpack. All you have to do is to click on this and it will open your browser folder file structure, and now you have to find the folder in which we have built the extension. So this is the one we have. You can see this is the one extension. That's the folder I'm working on. So I will simply select the folder, and that you can see we have all of this files. So we have this HTML, CSS, JavaScript, icon, all the files. So come back here, select the folder, and this is the folder we have to upload. So click and select this one, and here you can see that here we have uploaded the icon, uploaded the extension. You can see this is the name we have given, crypto wallet, and we have the ID which is generated by Chrome browser. And now simply refresh. So that's all information which you have provided here. You can see we have provided this icon, so that's why we are displaying the icon. The icons are displaying. You can able to get all the details. You can remove and you can refresh. And you can once you load that, make sure to refresh your browser and click on this, and here you will find the extension. So you can see this is the extension we have, crypto wallet. Now to add in your browser, you can simply click on this pink and this will add your extension. You can simply click on that, and here we have the extension. So we have the input fields, amount. You can pick any amount. You can give the amount, and this is the final one. Again, I'm telling you that a complete tutorial will come where we're going to build this particular extension with all the feature. It's a ditto copy of MetaMask. So in this video, in this project, we are just learning how to deal with the functionality and follow the basic rules for building extension, but we're going to build more complex extension in this particular project. So just wait, the project will be live within next 1 week. So looks pretty fine to me. So we'll have all of this function. You can able to select the networks, you can log out, log in, all of things work fine. Now come here in our extension. So what I will do here is, this is the MetaMask we have. Now first let me get into my MetaMask and get me the private key. So this is the account. I have this much Matic coin in this. I have to get the private key because I have to transfer the fund from different account. So I'll simply pass my credential. So let me pass the password for my MetaMask, and this will give me the private key. So this is my private key which I use for testing. Don't use my. And you can simply come here in this file, open this function, and here you can see this is I have already taken here. So this is the private key. That's what I'm going to use it for transfer the fund. So close this one, and right now I have this much value in my account. So you can simply copy the address and you can able to change the fund. So I'm going to send the fund in this account number 2, and that's what I have taken here. This is the private key for the account 1, and this is the account 2 address. So click here. Now provide the 0x, and then you have to provide your private key. So this is the private key. Now you have to get the address where you want to transfer the fund. So I'll simply paste the address, and let me transfer the fund 0.001. So this much I want transfer, and if I click on this check balance, it will fetch the balance of this particular address. So right now you can see I have nothing in this. You can see I have 0 Matty in this particular address. So the check balance function is working fine. Now we can transfer the fund. Click on this transfer. We'll have this loader. It's loading, it's making the transaction. Once the transaction will successful, it will give us the link, and you can see that our transaction is successful. You can check your transaction here. You can click on that. It will open this polyscan, and here you can see the transaction is still in pending mode. So the transaction is happening. This is the amount we have transferred. Okay, sometime this will take a little bit time, sometime it's happened very quickly. So our transaction is successfully done. This is the account we have used, and on this account we have transferred the fund. So if you come back here in that extension, right now you can see, you can simply come back to the MetaMask, and right now you can see, let me come back here, and here you can see the balance is deducted from this account. And if you come here, and the balance not displaying here because this is a hard hat account and someone else is using the same account for testing the contract, so that's why the balance is not reflecting, but you can see the balance is deducted from my account. You can simply come here, you can check the balance, and you can fetch the balance from this particular transaction. Okay, looks pretty good. You can come back here in the polyscan, still the data is pending, and you can see the all details about this transaction. It's happening. We have successfully done the transaction. You can reload the browser. If you have encountered any error in the MetaMask, simply reload the browser, and that will reset your extension. So that looks pretty good. Hope this entire thing making sense to all of you guys. And again, I'm telling you this, that a complete project will come on this particular MetaMask extension, and that we're going to build every single thing from scratch. We're going to build the entire custom logics. We're going to use the login and logout functionality, account creation, transfer fund, adding accounts, multiple accounts, adding multiple tokens, transfer tokens, all the things we're going to include in this particular extension. So just wait, a video will come in a week so you can follow that. But before you build this extension, make sure to build this particular one. And if you're watching this far, means you have already completed this extension. So you tons of learning coming on your way in the upcoming videos. So that we are done with this entire project. I hope you guys have learned something new, that how you can build your own extension for a crypto wallet, and with all the logic, all the patterns, all the configuration, all the full infrastructure. The only thing you have to keep in mind that you can't use the external libraries in the Chrome extension, it will throw you error. So it's always better that you can install, you can simply copy the entire code of the extension, do the modification, and you can use in your project. So again, the complete project will come on this complete MetaMask clone. So just wait for a week, it will be live and you can follow that. That I'm ending this video. If you're new to my channel, hit like and subscribe. That will motivate me a lot, and that's the only thing from my end. Have a wonderful day. Bye bye.